What's economic inequality and why does it matter? Economic inequality is arguably one of the most important issues confronting contemporary societies. At its core, economic inequality is manifested in two forms: income inequality, whereby salaries and wages are distributed in increasingly unequal ways among workers, and wealth inequality, whereby the average worth of individuals and households is unequally distributed, leading to very different life and intergenerational outcomes. It is an established fact that we are living in extremely unequal times. This is exacerbated by the other fact that societies have never been as affluent as they are today. United States households, for example, own more than $86 trillion in wealth, from houses and other forms of property to stocks and funds. This amounts to about $270,000 per person. The average household with 2.6 people should be worth about $700,000. But in reality, the median household has only about $97,000 in wealth. The top 1% households, in contrast, have more than 10 million in wealth. These patterns are heavily structured by race and gender. The median wealth of black families is less than $5,000, while 95% of the top 1% of the population in terms of wealth is male. As many scholars have argued, what we see today is a return to the Gilded Age of the early 1900s, when control over the economy fell into the hands of the very few. Think of the Vanderbilts, the dynastic family that controlled a shipping and railroad empire in the 19th century. In a demonstration of their wealth, in 1896, George Washington Vanderbilt II commissioned his Biltmore estate near Asheville, North Carolina. Spanning 125,000 acres of land and a 250-room main home, Biltmore cost the equivalent of $168 million in today's money. It was an extreme example of affluence in an era of particularly stark inequalities. We are not much better off today. A mere 3 years ago, a developer built the most expensive residence in America. The 12-bedroom, 3-kitchen house in Los Angeles hit the market with the whopping price tag of $250 million. The ultra-wealthy developer who built the house was betting a fortune on finding a very specific type of buyer. As he noted in an interview, he wanted to create a curated lifestyle and experience that would appeal to a new class of global billionaire. The house is a symptom. Mansions and expensive homes are not a problem in and of themselves, but they are warning signs in the context of increased levels of inequality. The type of inequality animating these lavish demonstrations of wealth simply isn't productive. It does not derive from socially useful innovations or radical positive transformations in the economy, but from rent-seeking and the increased control over markets and political institutions by the few. By concentrating economic and by proxy political power in a small elite, large levels of inequality also erode democratic institutions and the state's capacity to govern. And by making resources less evenly distributed, inequality can even derive in a more sluggish, less innovative economy. Inequality is a problem, and it is not a natural problem, it is a choice. In the remainder of this course, we will see how inequality is reproduced. Like other economic processes, inequality is both constituted and has effects on institutions, networks, and cultures. And more importantly, it reflects long-standing inequalities given by class, gender, and race. None of these are inevitable, and our task as sociologists is to understand how they might be challenged and dismantled into the future.